I don't want to do it. Welcome back to Freeman's Garage. Today we're refurbishing our original hubs from our Tri-5 1956 Chevy 210 Delray Ford / Club Coupe. The very first thing we're going to do here is finish the passenger side hub, get it back on the car. So the only thing we got left to finish on this passenger side hub, we got to put the inner bearing in and then the new seal, and then we'll pack this thing full of grease and slide it on the car. Here's our ball bearings. Now they could be the original bearings that this car left the factory with. We will never know, but the larger one, that's the inner, so we're gonna tuck her in here and then we will get our seal on top. I'm actually gonna get a little extra dollop of greasage here just because kind of a grease freak, you know. Not the movie, I swear, I have not seen Grease the movie 37 times. Or maybe I have. You will never know. We're moving over here to do this. I don't want to pound the seal in on the trunk lid. Here's what things look like before we put the seal in. This is an OEM style felt seal. You can see the felt inside and then the steel outside, and this lip is going to go towards the inside of the hub, towards the bearing, so it'll go, see, there's the lip. It's going to go like that. And I'm going to do just a very light coat of grease on the outside of this just to help it go in, but we want it to stay in place too, so we don't want to overdo it. Alright, let the installation process begin. And remember, this is not a how-to video. I don't make how-to videos. We're just hanging out at Freeman's Garage. I'm just showing you what the guy's up to. We're just hanging out. Alright, that seal is all the way in, so now let's pack this hub full of Go Grease Lightning and put it on the car. Oh yeah, I like it when it gets under the nails that are on your fingers. What are those called? Like most petroleum products, it's good for the skin. I'm trying to get through today without ruining this shirt. It is a thrift store shirt, 99-cent red tag day, but I still don't want to ruin it. And here's a topic of debate. If you're watching this and you don't wrench on cars, you might not give a hoot. But if you do, and you've done things like this before, you probably have an opinion. How much grease do you put in the hub? Where do you stop? Do you pack it with $5 worth of grease, fill the whole thing up? Or do you just get a nice thick glob all over in there? Some people will say, don't pack too much in there because when it gets hot, it's going to expand and it's going to squeeze past the seal. And some people say that you can't put enough grease in there. I kind of go down the middle of the yellow brick road, you know, not too much, not too little, just a good, healthy amount. Let's put this thing on the car. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. Before we can install our refreshed / refurbished hub onto that spindle, we got to put the brakes on. And we haven't finished painting the backing plates for the front brakes. We did sandblasting and priming in previous videos, but we never got around to getting the final coat on them. So that means to the paint booth. The only thing we're concerned about as far as the brakes go really is just getting the backing plate painted, getting our final coat on. Welcome to the all draft paint booth. Like the wind's not gonna blow that over before it's done drying, but while we're waiting and hoping, let's quickly blast this original backing plate hardware and get a little quick little spritz of paint on it. Almost dropped everything. And we're only doing the top 2 bolts, nuts, and lock washers because we just need the 2 bolts that go on top just to hold the backing plate from flopping around and getting in our way when we're trying to work here with the hub on the spindle. And the bolts that go in these 2 bottom holes, well, they're part of our steering. You see they're hanging out right there. Those 2, that's for the passenger side. And then those 2 there, that goes to the driver's side. It looks all funky because I've got everything twisted up, so it's just sitting up out of the way. But when we redo all the steering components here, that's when those bottom bolts will get addressed. Alright, everything turned out fan and diddly-tastic. Put a little grease on the spindle, just because I like to. Ew, uh-oh. I don't think we can use this grease. There's no picture of a car on it. Things are being assembled. It's always a good thing. Nuts and washers going on. And they don't have to be tight. We just want it to keep the backing plate from falling down into our work area. And now, the moment we've all been waiting for. There we go. Beautiful. Oh. We need our bearing. We need our bearing! That's critical. Calm down! We're not building a spaceship. This thing's not leaving the ground, okay? Oh, great. The good book calls for a torque spec of 33 foot-pounds to seat the hub and bearings onto the spindle. So we're going to do that, and then we'll back the nut off just enough to get a cotter key through. Just in case you're watching this and you're thinking about buying a torque wrench for the very first time, make sure when you're done using it, you set it back to 0 or the minimum torque, which the minimum on this is 20 foot-pounds. So I set it 20 foot-pounds, and then that way, while the tool's in storage, there's no pressure on the spring inside here that could throw it out of calibration. So everything should be seated nice and good in here, and at 33 foot-pounds, you can see it's too tight. If you try driving like this, you just burn your bearings up. So we need to back the castle nut off just enough to where the hub can spin free enough to where it's not going to burn the bearings up, but not so free that everything's all wonky and loose. And we also need to be able to get a cotter key through the hole. And my usual disclaimer once again, this is not a how-to video. A lot of you watching this know how to do all this stuff anyways. But for people that haven't, and you're watching this getting motivation and learning how to do something, well, just, once again, it's not how to double check everything, you know? Don't just listen to me. And that's still a little too tight. I like to see it be able to spin at least 2 turns. Okay, I'm gonna back off more, and we also need to be able to get the cotter key to the hole, so we got the hole lined up. That feels better. Yeah, that's probably about 2. Yep, that's perfect. We're tight. We're not so loose that we're clunking back and forth, but we're able to do a couple around the worlds. So, perfect. Time to find a cotter key. I think this one's probably going to be about perfect length if I could, well, if I could get it in there. There we go. That's a good length, but you know what? I'm going to use the biggest, fattest one that we can fit in there. If this comes apart, your wheel and tire, which are bolted to this hub, all comes off together, and then you nosedive at an angle and go towards the ditch, and then in the ditch, and then you go around and around and around. So I like to use the bigger, thicker cotter key, and it lets the nut move less so that your play here stays more consistent, and we'll just snip it off. Comment below. Or is that too much work for a cotter key? You can comment about that as well. Let's put our cap together, put our little piece in here, put a little spalooge of grease in there. Probably unnecessary, but I like to. It's just what I call insurance. We want to make sure we don't scratch the new paint on our already dented cap. Ow. You know, like any good paint job, just right over the dents. We're going to set all this stuff over on the driver's side, so that in a little bit here, when the hub for the driver's side is ready to go on, we've got all the tools over here. But first, real quick, let's put these brake parts up on the right front, just so that they don't disappear, because you know that if we leave these here for 48 hours, that's going to be gone, that's going to be gone. And this is not a final assembly for these brake parts. Please don't fall off. No, you're going to. Oh, well, I forgot the bolt that goes on here. So the reason we're just mocking these brake parts in place and not doing a final assembly, you know, buttoning down the hatches and whatnot, is because there's a little bit of detail work that I'd still like to do in this region. Kind of like if you're building a car model kit as a kid, the kind of little detail you want to put into things. And we're not quite at that point yet for me to start doing that work, or, you know, and showing it to you. There's some bigger fish to fry at the moment. Just hang these springs for right now. Looks cool, but it doesn't work yet. But we'll get there. So now, about this driver's side. With this driver's side hub, we are not going to put ourselves through the same drama as we put ourselves through with the passenger side. We're gonna make this look like this in about 5:30 seconds, the time. Let's rock and roll. Excuse me, sir. Well, what could slow us down here a little bit is the fact that I don't want to grind these factory rivets off. We talked about some of this stuff in the previous video where we were working on these hubs, and at the end of the video that you're watching right now, that video will come up on the screen for you, and it's also in the video description of the video you're watching now. So don't worry if you haven't seen it, you won't miss it, but in a walnut shell, these are factory rivets that are holding the hub to the drum. If we grind those rivets, if we cut them and get rid of them, getting the old wheel studs out and all that kind of, you know, it just goes faster and easier. But the challenge with that in my brain is the purist side of me takes over. And even though we don't have any factory rivets left on the passenger side, they do exist here on the driver's side. And because somebody in the 50s got up in the morning and went to work, and whether they actually cared about their job or not, maybe they did, maybe they didn't, I don't know. But a human American did this in the 50s, and I do not want to delete it and erase it from the planet. That's a long way of saying I might be unnecessarily adding extra time to this project, but it's what I like. So it's what we're gonna do, and yeah, now let's rock and roll. There's a little bit of shavings that skimmed off of the wheel studs as they came out with force. This is adding a little bit of time on. Let me zoom in a little bit for you. Oh no, it went blurry. It's out of focus. Come on, get back in the focus. It's the story of my life. Having a hard time staying in focus. Okay, we'll just stay back here. You see that, well, it looks kind of like a ring. Right there. See, I just moved it. That goes all the way around, and I'll show you what that is. It is a piece of the knurling, which is the vertical splines that are under my thumb. Under my thumb. Great song. It's just a bit trying. Working on getting these out of here. So, we'll work on this for a second. There we go. There we go. Now I'm gonna get her. Oh, come on. Okay, here, I got the trick now. Need to hold it with that, and then go in with this. There we go. Got it. There's a piece. Just need the rest of it. Alright, here it comes. Here it comes. There we go. Alright, let's go over to the parts washer. Under my thumb. I'm going to clean this work area off. Well, actually, it's not a work area, it's a parts washer. But you know, when you're working with things like bearings and bearing races, it gets a little nerve-wracking when you're doing that right next to 20 pounds of an abrasive media that you do not want in your bearings. All right, we're getting closer to making this look brand spanking new. So let's take it apart the rest of the way. I think what we should do here is cue another royalty-free light rock, inspirational, motivational track, and blitzkrieg through this cleaning process. Because seriously, who likes cleaning? You know what I just realized? Well, of course you don't. I haven't told you yet. I'll tell you right now. There's a little gap in between the drum and the hub from the previous video when we were just going psycho on this thing. Now, I knew that, and I was okay with that because if it was really an issue, you know, enough to be an issue, we can bend it back. But the thing is, I'm noticing now, there's grease and dirt and debris in between there now that doesn't want to wash out of there. And if we put the thing into the blast cabinet to blast it so that we can paint on a fresh surface, just like we were able to do with the hub from the other side of the car, because these rivets had already been ground down and punched out by somebody else, we're probably just gonna get a bunch of media wedged in between there. That's not gonna come out. And that would be real sloppy. There's only one thing that we can do, and I don't want to do it. The rivet popped out. We'll set the drum off to the side and we'll clean the hub once again, and we'll put this front end together. It's really gonna happen, I promise. Alright, I just washed my hands and got them, well, I mean, they're not clean, but they're as clean as they can possibly get, because we're handling a fresh, clean part now. Well, with some brake cleaner to get any blasting media dust off, and we'll take it to the paint booth, paint it, let it dry, and start reassembling things. We'll get the backing plate for the brakes in on the paint booth action as well, because, you know, a guy can't forget that that has to go on before the hub can go on. You know, if I forget that, and then we redo. Sorry, I'm swimming in and out of myself. I'm still distraught over taking 1950s General Motors factory workers' hard work and deleting it from existence. Oh yeah. The hub's a little icy from blasting it with brake cleaner, so we're going to warm it up with one of my favorite tools in the whole world. We might as well let the paint get some residual warmth as well, because it's a little cool to the touch. I'm going to make sure that I don't melt the duct tape to the hub this time. I gotta stop using duct tape for this stuff. Alright, we're gonna let that dry / cure in the paint booth. One of the big benefits of having a heat gun is you can reduce dry times. You can literally turn back time. You know, like Cher was trying to tell us. Was that Cher? I think that was Cher. Man, our parts turned out great. I think the word I'm looking for is snazzy. Now, hopefully, duct tape was not a complete disaster again. Well, you know, how much did I have to put on here? Really? How much of this did I really have to put on here? Not gonna lie, I almost forgot that we have to put the wheel studs in. I was about to slap this back on the car and oh my gosh, would you never be able to let me get away with that one. Let's get the first one here just seated. That way we don't ruin it when we press it in. Wheel stud number 2 going in. Yeah, you know what? Things feel pretty safe, but I probably shouldn't have my face that close. Just in case. Last one right here. We're gonna get it started, and then we might have to make a little adjustment. Well, maybe not. I thought we were gonna have to, well, actually, hold on. Hold the phone. Okay, well, I'm taking a risk. I'm going for it. Going for it, man. Going for it. Oh, everything worked out perfect. The eagle has landed. Yeah! All right, back on the trunk lid. You You might be asking yourself, where's the cap, Freeman? Well, I don't know. I'm gonna re-watch the very first video with this 56 Chevy when we first brought it home after we hauled it all the way across the country, and I'm gonna see if there was a cap on there because I don't remember. But you know what? In between right now and the next time that we work on the 56 Chevy here together at Freeman's Garage, we should have a cap and possibly a set of wheels. What I'm saying is in less than 12 hours, I'm going to be at a swap meet, and wheels for the 56 Chevy are on my list. Like, comment, subscribe. Oh, where's the hub? Oh.